The romance genre is pretty straightforward, and that doesn't change when it comes to anime. You've got your rom-coms, you've got your pretty boy shoujo series, and you've got this. Okay, maybe not that one. It's genuinely difficult to find a romance anime that feels different and strays from those typical slow burns that drag on, only for the show to hit you with the dreaded go read the manga ending, which is very common for romances. So, imagine my surprise when the anime to give me the romance experience that I didn't even know I was looking for came from the girls' love section of all things. What makes things even crazier is when you see just how small a piece it makes up of the entire romance catalog that anime has to offer. And to top it all off, despite this particular series also falling victim to the go read the manga scenario, I actually went to go do exactly that, which I personally never do. The series that I'm talking about is Bloom Into You, which aired back in fall of 2018. Bloom Into You begins with our main character, Yu Koito, who has just begun her first year of high school. Koito loves to read shoujo manga, listen to sappy love songs, and hopes to stumble upon romantic feelings of her own. To her, love is supposed to make you feel like you're floating, and you don't realize it until it's too late. However, during her graduation day of junior high school, she receives a confession, but feels absolutely nothing. Afterwards, Koito begins to feel detached from the rest of her classmates and friends, not knowing what to do or how to feel. She understands the concept of love from the shoujo manga she reads, but is struggling to find the sensation for herself. While on her way to check out the student council, Koito happens to eavesdrop on second year and model student Toko Nanami, who is receiving a confession of her own. Soon after rejecting her admirer, the two begin talking to one another, and Toko explains she rejected everyone who has confessed to her because they did not make her heart flutter. Koito becomes interested in Toko as she believes she may have found someone who shares the same problem as her. But when Koito reveals her problem to Toko, an ironic turn of events occurs and Toko claims she may be falling in love with her. At first, it seems like everything is moving too fast, considering that it all happens within the first episode. But there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. The story is mainly told through Koito's point of view, and we are constantly aware of what she's thinking about in every episode. The crux of her character is how she perceives herself unable to feel in love with anyone else. It's clear that her confusion is caused because of what society paints love to look or feel like. Despite this problem, Koito is not some edgy, emotionless person. She's seen as very kind by her friends, almost to a fault. One of her junior high friends stated that if she asked Koito to go to the same school as her to continue playing softball, that she would do it, because that's the kind of person she is. I wouldn't exactly classify this as kindness, and I think a more accurate thing to say is that she's very unsure of herself. And love doesn't make things any easier. Even when Toko kisses Koito in the second episode, and yes, they do indeed kiss after 2 episodes. I know anime has done crazier things like, getting married in 1 episode, but it's definitely outside the norm. The realization that Koito's first kiss was taken out of nowhere like that didn't make her upset. It didn't even matter that it was taken by a girl, and if anything, it was an afterthought. The more pressing matter that disturbed her was that she didn't feel a single thing after that kiss. She feels even more confused and frustrated seeing someone that she believed to share the same pain as her to end up falling in love with her of all people. Getting Toko easily flustered with something as simple as hand-holding just left Koito feeling hopeless and wanting to break away from whatever relationship was developing between them. Situations like these are where Bloom Into You really shines. Rather than the characters keeping their issues and feelings hidden from one another, they will confront each other and talk their way through their issues. As Koito decides to tell Toko that she feels nothing for her, Toko knows what's on her mind and says she doesn't need to worry about returning her feelings, that the feeling of love she's never felt before is more than comforting enough. Koito feels hesitant continuing this relationship, but she sees this as her best opportunity to find that sensation of love that seems to evade her. At the end of the day, both characters spoke on their perspective without any drama and came to an agreement, even if Koito still carries a bit of guilt. At first, this sounds like a terrible scenario for Toko. Being in love with someone who is incapable of loving you back sounds incredibly painful, but this couldn't be further from the truth. From the beginning, Toko's character looks to be quite cliché, a seemingly perfect student that everyone admires at school for both her looks and achievements. Of course, the idea of the perfect student actually being a flawed character isn't exactly the most groundbreaking idea. When she has to make a speech for her campaign to be chosen as student council president, Koito easily spots the nerves and lack of confidence written all over Toko's face. Rather than keeping it to herself, Koito takes Toko outside to calm her down and to confront her about her attitude. Instead of being stubborn, like most characters who pretend to be flawless, Toko lets her weakness show in front of Koito and makes it clear that she can only drop the mask and do things like this because Koito expects nothing out of her. Toko's issues run much deeper, but I'm not trying to give everything away. It's Toko's honesty and dynamic with Koito that allows her to shine and not feel so cliché. She's able to show more of her personality off while also stumbling through the feelings of having her first crush, which is really endearing. There are tons of cute moments between the two, and their interactions do exactly what they're supposed to make you feel lonely as Toko is the one who usually initiates things because she's got her feelings sorted out, at least in relation to how she feels about Koito. It's also really interesting to see how they interact, considering that Koito doesn't experience those flustered feelings to the same extent. Even though these two characters and their dynamic are the main selling point of this series to me, I honestly feel like it's very well rounded. The anime's visuals look great, and when you compare it to the manga, it looks practically identical. There's also something about how the eyes of the characters are done that just makes them feel so expressive. The soundtrack is also fantastic and complements the tone of every scene. Even the supporting characters are all solid and are complementary to the story without taking away time from the main couple. Koito's friends all contribute in different ways. One of her friends, Koyomi, writes a play for the student council that contributes directly to Toko's character arc and takes over the plot for quite a while. Akari provides Koito a perspective on what it's like when someone takes their shot at love and doesn't work out so great, which does nothing but feed into her indecisiveness. One of the more important supporting characters is Maki, a member of the student council who can understand Koito's struggles with love as he is an aromantic himself. He challenges Koito by saying that while she is struggling to understand her feelings, it doesn't mean that they both share the same predicament with romance. Maki's view on love is unique, as he's content with observing others' romantic experiences, but is not comfortable receiving any feelings in his direction. I think practically everyone is an observer in their own way. Thanks to social media and the internet, you can keep up with someone's entire life while they have no idea that you even exist. Despite that, I think it's a completely different feeling when you're much closer and involved with the story you're observing. You get way more excited seeing a friend of yours having their first crush rather than some stranger on the internet. Last but not least, the most important supporting character, Sayaka Sayaki, is much more directly involved with our main couple. The reason being is that she is in love with Toko. She's put in the effort to feel worthy to stand by Toko's side and fell in love with the side of her that everyone else sees. Love triangles have quite the reputation in many romances for causing all kinds of drama and not working out well. But I have to say that I don't think I've seen a character in a love triangle handled this well. Despite not being afraid of showing a bit of jealousy to Koito from time to time, Sayaka is by no means an unlikable person. Her feelings for Toko are anything but shallow, and despite seeing through her mask and knowing all of Toko's flaws, she very clearly loves her. She's had her own troubles to overcome, even if everyone sees her on the same level as Toko. Sayaka is the only character who has actually struggled with her sexuality in the past. What's interesting about this is it makes you realize that Koito and Toko rarely talk about the subject at all. The topic is irrelevant to them because they're focused on understanding themselves as well as the complexities of love. The same also goes for Sayaka. Her issues with sexuality only make up a small part of her character, and her role in the story is just as important as Koito and Toko. Bloom Into You as a whole takes a very hands-off approach to sexuality, and it works really well. If anything, it helps the ideas that the story does focus on to stand out much more. If I were to use one word that's most important to the story of Bloom Into You, that word would be change. This idea is only brought up later in the manga, but it was the part that stuck with me the most. Change is something that affects everyone, whether they want it or not, whether you're trying to make a change in your own life or an event transpires that's out of your control. We all want change to happen when it benefits us the most, but avoid it at all costs when the road ahead to making that change is extremely difficult. The concepts of change and love and how they go hand in hand is explored fully through dialogue between multiple characters, and all of them have some kind of fear towards change. Both Koito and Sayaka are afraid of jeopardizing the bond that they have built up with Toko by taking a step to change the relationship they share, while Toko isn't ready to take on a romantic relationship because she's struggling to love herself. The biggest difference I see in this series compared to the rest is how much care and attention the characters have for each other's feelings and how they talk about love. The end goal isn't to just share a kiss and live happily ever after, but to thoroughly understand each other and know what love means to them. It gives the characters a realistic feel that isn't really seen in romance anime. I want to read a couple lines from the manga which have been in my head ever since I finished the series. You know, love doesn't mean I never want you to change, but I don't think it means I don't care if you change either. So I suppose it might mean I believe that you'll always be the person I adore. A declaration of faith, perhaps. Regardless of the changes you or the one you love may go through in life, what matters in the end is the unwavering faith you have in one another and to tackle those changes together. When I started this series, I never thought I was going to take away something that I may apply to my own life, and I hope that maybe you'll take away something for yourself as well. And if that doesn't do it for you, then just go to chapter 44 of the manga. You're welcome. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell if you enjoyed, and leave a comment if this video convinced you to try the series out, because I'll know that I've done my job. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.